Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. The next episode of Red Valkyrie is about to start. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Red Valkyrie. I am your host, Shae Zombie, and I am here with the super awesome Davie Feed. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Good afternoon or good night for us folk in Europe.
Yeah, it's rather late for David. I believe you said midnight.
It's exactly midnight. Yeah, the
Look at that.
bells rung somewhere around there.
That's what I was hearing in the background. Got you. So
Awesome cosplay, by the way, I have to say. Yeah, awesome cosplay. I kind of recognize that.
just a little bit. Don't worry, I'm sure the people will
Just
catch
a little
on
bit.
in a
Yeah, it
second.
rings a bell somehow.
It sounds familiar. It just seems like something I've seen before. So
It sounds slightly familiar.
I'm super excited because we're gonna go over David's comic Red Eyes, sorry, and this will make more sense when you see what he's got going. So I'm gonna kick it over to you for your pitch. You can go ahead and take it away.
All right. So, Red Eyes. This is also the tagline is it's like Conan the Barbarian, but with guns. So this is a world where we do have some primitive firearms. There are cannons, one-shooters, and of course there's monsters, fantasy races, dreamlike locations, and also maybe even ninjas.
I wonder where I got the idea.
You wonder where you got that idea, yes. So Red Eyes is a dark fantasy saga. It starts a little bit small and it grows into a much, much larger conflict, as you would expect of a fantasy saga, maybe a world-ending conflict, if you like. However, this first arc of the story will be around 6 issues, and it's going to be like a complete story, a complete season. There's a beginning, middle, and end. It's it's a hero's journey of the protagonist. So if you go up on the image on the cover where you see everyone, Shae?
Yep, right
if
there.
you go, yeah, right there, the one in the middle, who's holding the black girl. He is the protagonist of the story. He has a code name, Tribal Filth.
Okay.
That's the name the hunters or the police in this world are. He's like a wanted man, and the code name they have for him is Tribal Filth. And so he was sentenced to death some time ago for his incompetence and cowardice. He belongs to an insurrection movement, but his father was one of the higher ups in this movement, and so he, of course, didn't want his son to die.
Right.
And the thing is that, Junior was becoming a problem. And so the father came up with a solution, and drafted him into a very difficult mission, a mission of penance, kind of.
Okay. So
the episode 1 starts where the hero. Yep.
I was gonna say they basically I'm gonna send you off to war and you're gonna man the fuck up or you're gonna die, and either way you won't be my problem anymore.
That's more or less yes, exactly.
Okay, cool. Yep, I'm on board.
Some people would call it a suicide mission, almost.
Wow.
So the episode 1 starts, and the heroes are in the middle of the mission, and the protagonist, he is slowly but surely realizing that, and what else can we say about it? Also, if you want, you can scroll down now. Sorry. So, of course, there's going to be, a little bit of world building, a little bit of understanding who is who in this story. We have the insurgents, who are the heroes, and we have the bad guys, who I call the hunters, who are basically the ones who invaded their land, and they have been ruling it for like 20 years now. So what you can see there, those are the 2 of the insurgents who are in a very bad place because the hunters just found them and they are about to, eat them or kill them or something.
I'm sorry, is this naked lady turning into this really disturbing ass snake?
Yes,
Oh
exactly.
my gosh.
It turns into a giant skull-faced snake.
That's horrifying. Like I was like, she's really pretty, and then I was like, who's this old dude? Like, oh, that's wow, she's that's kind of like a butterface right there. Like, oh,
Oh my
terrible.
god. Yeah,
Oh,
so yeah, she's a shapeshifter, so she can,
I've
turn
gathered
into
that.
all sort of different uh, animals and monsters, and and she has her preferred state when it comes to fighting, and it would be this giant skull-faced snake.
Yeah, it's a choice. I feel like if I could shapeshift, I might choose something that isn't a kind of disgusting looking gigantic skull faced snake. But to each their own. Everybody's got a thing.
Well,
Gosh.
the way I see it is like it's obviously this is for fighting, no?
Yeah.
And when it comes to that, it's like, okay, one time is intimidating, and the other
Mhm.
part is, just being able to bite them or crush them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I get it. I do. It's just, it's so gross. She went from being kind of hot to like, like I'm good. I'm good. I'm gonna move past her because she freaks me out.
Yeah, no, go ahead. And
Oh,
so yeah, but I didn't want, the thing is with the first issues, I didn't you have a lot to explain with the world building and such,
mhm.
but I didn't want to bore the readers to death, so there's going to be a lot of action. We like hop in the middle of the mission, and we're going to explain, I think they say retroactively,
Mhm.
explain who they are, where they are, what they're going on in the world.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So there's going to be plenty of action and fighting, and just a little bit of explaining, if you like.
I
I also
like
thought
it.
that nowadays, if you have characters just sitting down and eating, is like frowned upon. So I was like, even if the characters are just sitting very shortly and talking about the mission, it's going to be tense because
Yeah.
they are surrounded by enemies, and they are in a position where basically everyone is looking for them.
Yeah,
Hard
it's
pass. What do you mean hard pass?
I'm
Oh my
assuming
goodness.
hard pass on the chick turning into a skull snake. It's like, oh
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
she's hot. Never mind.
Never
It's
mind.
all
Yes,
good.
no, no.
Nope. All right. This looks really neat. And I like the fact that you just kind of come right out and say, you're like, look, it's like Conan the Barbarian, but they all got guns. So
Oh
that
yeah, so this is the world with magic and also guns. So they're both.
yes. Which is a really cool kind of way to do this. Like I like that you've got, the goat man right here. You've got and it's just normal. It's just part of this world that they're in, which is really cool. Um
So
Delta
the idea is
Spurg
kind
likes
of
the goat
like
man.
so the idea is that this would be our world
Hmm.
after the or around the time of the Industrial Revolution, only that there's this fantasy species, and there's also magic.
Okay.
And each of them has like their pros and cons. So magic is not like all powerful in this world. It's
Hmm.
like when you cast a spell, it takes some time to do it, and obviously if you get distracted, it doesn't work.
Right.
And guns also have their pros and cons. Like you can shoot, but if you need to reload afterwards. And
Hmm. Well, and I mean, anyone who has ever kind of done anything with guns, you know that guns in close quarters are terrible. And a blade is probably way better. So just like in reality, like if you have a rifle and you're in a hallway and somebody rushes you, your rifle's kind of worthless.
yeah, exactly. So the thing is, like, there's going to be so one of my biggest inspiration for this is a pretty old movie called Dirty Dawson.
Uh-huh.
It's a pretty old World War II movie about a group of 12 dudes who are sent
Hmm.
in this suicide mission, and they are chosen because they are like experts in their field, but they're
Yep.
also how do you say, they're all sentenced to death basically in the movie. And so here's like a similar concept, like each of the 9 heroes, they have their reasons to be in this mission. And the protagonist has the thing that he was actually sentenced to death. And if he doesn't go along, then of course he'll be hanged in the morning or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And each of them is kind of an expert in their own field. No? So the protagonist is a bit of a fighter, sword fighter. And there's also, someone, the girl with the gun is obviously the marksman. The ninja is actually kind of is a mage, but also a thief, an extortionist, a trickster. And the huge giant cats are the muscles of the operation.
I like it. I really do. I think that this is it's a really cool take, and I kind of like the cover that you did. It really feels like kind of that old Conan the Barbarian like posters and stuff that they would have, where everything's painted and hyper fantasy, and like you've got all of that kind of interesting blends and a lot of like ethereal lighting and stuff like that. I think it looks really cool.
The color, both colors, they really got the feeling I was looking for. And also, if we're mentioning about inspirations, there's this other, how do you say, movie for TV that was made for Tales from the Crypt.
Mm-hmm.
It's a World War I episode. It's called Yellow. And it's also, if anyone's seen them, they will understand. It's basically about this guy who's yellow, basically a coward, but he happens to be the son of the general. So even though he screwed up a lot of times, the daddy's always there saving him until he cannot save him anymore, and then things get pretty dark and horrible and blood and gore.
Right. Well, I was gonna say this is. I mean, you're starting out with 46 pages, which is a really decent size, especially to get into the initial stages of a story. That's almost impossible to do in a 24-page floppy. So I think 46 is probably a good sweet spot where you can get enough backstory in there and enough like setup without having to, just rush through everything and have like pages that don't make sense where you're like, by the way, this is so and so and he does this. Okay, now back to the story. Like you can kind of make it feel organic instead of overly rushed.
Yeah, no, that also the original idea was to have like 100 pages, but that was way too much. That was like too much of an effort, so we had to cut it down to make it feasible. And yeah, so it's going to be 37 story pages to be exact, and 46 is going to be the whole with all the extras and character information, maybe fan art section, and so forth and so on. We are basically offering a ash can of issue number 2 with all physical perks.
Oh wow!
That's to give a little bit more of the story, because I do feel that with only the first issue it's a bit like what the hell is exactly going on here. And so to make it clearer, we are including the ash can of issue 2.
That's very cool. All right, so let's go over your perks so people know exactly what they can get. So your first one is Dungeon Master perk at $46.
So that's like all 3 available books in all chumped together and with a little bit of a discount on shipping. This is the other thing. We are printing in the States and in Switzerland. Also, I live in Switzerland and my sister lives in the States. And so we are, how do you say, everything that is shipped in the States and in Switzerland is going to be for free. Also, the shipping is going to be included in the price.
Oh wow, that's
to mention it.
That's great. And that's actually phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I think that CG, a lot of the people who buy CG books, they're in the States, so it makes sense to print there and to include the price, or to have a reduced price for the comic when it comes to shipping. And the first perk, that's like, also we were just going to do 2 books, the Ashcan and the episode 1. But then I heard in the streams this guy, Raging Golden Eagle, who was talking about making a sexy monster girl bestiary. And I thought, hell yeah! So I love that idea. I was like, damn, yes, let's do that. So we are creating a sexy monster girl bestiary with all the different species and monsters and fantasy races in the world of Red Eyes, just
Okay.
spicing it up with some, spicier pinups, I guess.
Hey, I like it. I'm on board. That's I love it when I see other people, especially when you've got like a beast, kind of like beast girls and stuff, where they're at least more unique and it's not just the standard like woman being beautiful, but you get to kind of play around with other kinds of, like sexy and alluring characters that aren't maybe your most standard. And I love seeing other artists' renditions of those because they vary so much from person to person. What some people think is sexy, or what people come up with when it comes to beast women, people come up with the most interesting ideas, and a lot of them are really good. Some of them get a little bit cringe, but I'm excited to see what you've got.
I can imagine.
Like I had to at least mention it because y'all know what I'm talking about when I say some of them get cringe.
No, I don't know which one you mean, but I can imagine.
We're not. I am not going to. I'm not going to ruin you. That's fine. We'll move on. But that's a good deal. $46 for 3 books is a really good deal.
So the deal is also that I always had the feeling that, in fantasy, in books and comics, a lot of the time you see the same races, the same species, the same monsters. Mm-hmm. Like all these books, they're always the orcs are the bad guys, and you always have trolls, and you always have elves. And I was like,
yeah,
and dwarves and what have you. And I was like, I want to have something more original. So I started creating like a pool of original races, and then when I heard this thing about the sexy monster girl bestiary, I was like, hey, if I already have all these species that I created, well, let's put them in a bestiary.
Yeah.
And finally the final idea was to make it, sexier, if you like.
I mean, you might as well. Why not? Sex sells, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you see it, but yes, it does, sex and violence.
I mean, I'm down for it. I don't think it's a problem.
No. I mean, I wrote the story, so what can I say?
You're like, I wrote
These
it,
are my ideas.
No,
I'm not promoting this for someone else. This is like my idea. So,
right.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, digital only. That's for international. That you don't have crazy prices on shipping, but it's not been very popular. But it's there for anyone who wants to.
Okay.
And then the standard is just the comic and the ashcan.
Nice. Okay, so if the comic and the ashcan is $21, and the comic ashcan and bestiary is $46, how big is this bestiary going to be?
Right now it's 24 pages, but it's probably going to be more. So it's the idea is that it's this sounds super sleazy, but it's like 12 species, like kind of one for each month. They have their sexy pinup, and the other side it's like the whole explanation with the lore and the biology of how this species work.
Okay.
Plus some more how do you say, some more pages of I don't even know exactly what yet, but the basic idea is that 24 pages, 12 species explained, and a pinup.
Okay, and a pinup.
Yeah.
I didn't see that up there. See, right here, it doesn't say pinup.
Pinup. What I mean is a pinup illustration. Sorry.
Gotcha.
Like one splash page.
And okay.
Decent pinup illustration of the monster in a sexy pose or what have you.
Okay. All right. And we did have a question from Papa. He wants to know, are you having multiple artists? I'm assuming specifically for the bestiary, but are you having multiple artists contribute to that at all?
At the moment, just right now I'm working with one artist, and he's making everything. And I have different colorists. So the covers are done by a friend of the artist. His name is Andrea Guardino, and he's been featured in the Art Station, and he's pretty good. Okay. And for the interiors, it's another artist who's doing the colors. But all the inks and the pencil are done by the same artist.
Interesting. So is there any chance that you might want to take that bestiary, and if you did kind of showcase a little bit of what your chicks look like in these various races that you created, maybe open it up to some other artists and see if you can include some of those in there, some of your favorites or fan favorites or whatever, as part of that book? That might be kind of an interesting route to take, something to think about at least.
You know what? Yes, I didn't think. No, the thing is, the bestiary was not planned in the campaign. This was
Right.
just something that came up when I already started the campaign, and when I heard about that, I thought it was such a crazy and such a cool idea. I said I have to include this somehow in the campaign. But now that you mentioned that, yeah, that sounds definitely like that's an awesome idea. Thank you. Yes, I will do that.
No problem. That's, you know what? That's what we aim for here, is to kind of help you think of things that maybe you didn't quite consider the first time through. But I think that showing off some of your characters and your more original races, and then opening it up to Twitter and seeing what fan art you might get back for that, and including what you think is really good, what your favorites are, or do votes and put in, the top 5 select or 10 select, however many, you decide that you want to add in, but putting those into the book could be a really kind of neat thing, to kind of get people more engaged, and to get a little bit variety, because there's so many people that do women within CG and indie comics. They do them so well, and they do them drastically differently from one another, which is really kind of a cool thing.
Got it. You know what? Yes, that sounds awesome.
Make sure you price it out before you say for sure, because make sure that it's not going to break your bank, but it's probably not going to be too much to add in a couple extra pages.
No, I'd love to. I mean, like I said, this is like a work in progress right now. And yes, like 24 pages is not a lot for a bestiary. So it sounds awesome. Like 10 more pages, 10 more monsters. That would be 20 more pages.
Yeah.
54 pages. That'd be awesome too. Yes.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a decent book. And that definitely, with you doing a comic in an ash can for $21 and then a bestiary for $26, I think that if you opened it up and made it a little bit beefier, you'd start to see this sell a lot more. Granted, you're probably not going to see this one sell. You're probably going to see this one sell up here with the Dungeon Master perk, because then they're getting everything. But
right. No, yes. I'm that sounds like an awesome idea. I'm so glad I was in the stream.
This is what we do at Red Valkyrie. We try to help out creators. So I'm glad that you feel like you've helped.
That's actually a pretty good idea. Hey, one guy in the chat, he was asking any monster based off South American lore. So all the monsters in the world of Red Eyes are basically kind of invented.
Okay.
So there are combinations of animals that are not very common in fantasy. They are I don't even know, like the species you normally have, but just with a twist. I think so. There are no vampires in this story, but there are this weird species called lampreys, who was basically kind of a stand-in for vampires, but they have like a rounded mouth with a ton full of teeth, like lampreys do.
Interesting.
There's like no horses. They all ride in these giant cocks, as you saw in the page below.
Yeah, this one, which, by the way, I have to say, I absolutely love that, because this is, obviously, like I hate that it's been shot so many times, because that just makes my heart hurt. But I love what you've done, or what your colorist rather has done, with the fact that they do like the shadows of the leaves, and they have them kind of cut in really random ways, and it makes it a really interesting piece to look at.
Yeah, it's a girl from Slovakia. Her name is Frederica Valova, and she's awesome with the colors. Like I'm super how do you say, pleased, happy with how she's turning out the pages.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you have somebody that you can uh kind of go to have her, put her own spin on, and it's such a unique thing because I don't see people coloring like this very often through CG. So this is kind of a neat take on everything.
I feel like because like everyone in the team, as me included, we're all in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And as I grew up in Mexico, but still I'm in Switzerland now.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone in the team is from Italy or from Slovakia. So the colorist is from Slovakia. And yeah, I feel like there's a different take on art and colors and everything. It's more, you can compare them more to the comics we have here in Europe, no, the more
Mm-hmm.
German, French fantasy books, not so much a American comic style.
But it's really cool that you're taking that and you're bringing it to, like you said, you're printing here in America as well as in Switzerland, and so it's you're bringing it here, and you're like, hey, like we've got this for you guys if you're interested, but you're bringing us a very European take on it. And so
Yeah,
it's
pretty
it's
much.
something that we all love because who doesn't love Conan the Barbarian? But like
Hell yeah.
seriously. But then it's got this European take on it that we don't see as much here, which makes it a really unique project, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, I was talking with I think
Mm-hmm.
Alasmat Films is the channel, and like for me, like some mild nudity, that's like just fine.
Mm-hmm.
You would see that in the fantasy books in here in Europe in Switzerland, but apparently in America, so America is strange. They are very prude in certain aspects, but then
Yes.
they're like not at all in certain
Yeah.
other aspects.
Yeah. If you're gonna show nudity, just say it up front, and then everyone else will be pretty fine. The people that are gonna lose their minds over it will just avoid it. But the people that would appreciate it and not like, oh my, that was a boob. Like, yeah, boobs exist. Like, we all understand this. Um,
So this
you're
is going to be rated R, like the Conan movies. It's going to be
there. You
rated
go.
R. There's going to be blood, violence, and some nasty stuff with violence and some mild nudity.
There you
That's
go.
gonna be in the comic.
I like it. And then the only other one that you had has been sold out. You had One of One, where somebody got their likeness immortalized, which is
Yes,
super cool.
I thought of keeping it short, sort of simple,
Mm-hmm.
short and simple, because I didn't want to put like 10 drawn in tears and then it's like, oh my goodness, I have to change the entire comic because of this now. So I said, okay, let's keep it simple. 1 out of 1. There you go.
Yep. Well, and now it's, hey, when I do my next one, maybe there'll be 3, but I'm not going to do more than that, so you better get on it quick if that's what you want.
That was incredible. Like I put that tier up and like in a matter of hours, like someone
Hmm.
took it.
Absolutely, they
Like
did.
it seems that our people just waiting for that.
There really are, because I mean, let's be real. Who doesn't want to have something that they can point to and go, "You see this right here? That's me." But that's in someone else's book, but that's me. That's it's an exciting thing. I'm actually drawn into somebody's book as a random background character just because he decided he wanted to draw me in, and I cannot wait to get that. I am so excited just because he did my tattoo. Like, I'm on the wrong side. He did my tattoo and everything, all up on this girl in the background, and I'm like, I'm blown away. It was just super cool to see. And so I get the drawn in tears. I just don't normally have the bank to be able to back them very often.
Oh yeah, me too. Like I want to do that too, but then I see the price, I'm like, oh my god, wait,
Mm.
no, I don't I don't think
But
so.
you understand why, because it's not like it's an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. You have people that have to, like, they basically have to go back to a page that was otherwise done just to draw you in.
Yes,
And
but
it's
the thing that I found very, very interesting is that now that this is happening, it's interesting that I went back, changed some pages, and then I got some pretty cool ideas. Because
mhm,
I didn't want to have this just like a random person who walks and then dies or something.
right.
I wanted it to be, one of the main villains.
Oh wow.
And
That's exciting.
yeah, no, I hope the guy likes it. I think
I
that.
would be shocked if he didn't.
Oh, I hope so. But yeah.
Oh,
What else? What I was gonna?
uh,
Yes, yes. There's this other thing.
uh-huh.
If you go to the updates,
Okay.
the thing is that another something that I want. Also, first of all, the first update you'll see this is the first pinup thing for the spider monster.
Spider playing volleyball. That is so unfair. As someone who loves volleyball, you don't get 6 arms to hit. That's bullshit.
She's like the whole team almost.
Right. Well, and she's a spider, so I gotta feel like her 2 legs are probably pretty strong, and she's probably got some mad hops. Unfair.
She would be a little bit stronger than a regular human.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so this is the first one that we've done. Also, and that update, that's the one I'm talking about. We had all these perks in the campaign, but we took them out to make it more, more clean, to have a more lean start site.
Mm-hmm.
However, we have perks for German and Spanish.
Oh, that is awesome.
Since I speak German and Spanish also, and I've done some work translating to Spanish, I thought, yeah, you know what, I'm going to do my own comic, of course.
Well,
And
that's really cool.
we're offering them in digital and physical in those 2 languages.
That's very cool.
And
I
so
like
the
that
links.
this is happening more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not many people have taken them, but I'm saying, you know what, I want to make the experience, so we're going to print them anyway, and see how that works out.
Well, and I think that this is a relatively new thing, especially around this indie scene, because a lot of people don't expect it to be in anything other than English if the campaign is mainly in English. But we've got like Machi the Lazy Witch did hers in English and in Spanish. Carla speaks Spanish and has actually started a CG group full of Spanish-speaking people where they're going to start looking at trying to translate some of these comics or do their own comics that will be in Spanish and English to try and reach more people. And there's people that have looked at doing it in Korean, in German, in Japanese, like whatever it is that they might possibly be able to put it into. And I think that really just shows that this is super customer based. This isn't easy to do. Like, trust me, I fully understand. This is a
translating
pain.
is not easy. Oh my goodness.
It is such a pain in the ass to take something that makes sense in English and have it have that same punch in a different language, especially when you start getting away from languages that are romantic languages and you start going into like Middle Eastern, or you start getting into a lot of the Asian languages where the things that you rely on for cultural significance don't exist, and you have to rejigger how you're going to say something in order for it to still have the same kind of punch for those people.
Yeah, and you have to respect like the length of the bubble, the text bubbles.
Oh gosh,
like German is terrible for that, because sometimes you have these huge words, huge compound words.
Going.
yes, and how the hell do you put that in the same sized bubble?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I know it's not it's not easy now.
No, it isn't at all. But I love that you're going that extra mile. You're doing that extra bit of effort to offer it in both of those languages as well as English, because that, if nothing else, that should make people feel like you're wanting to include them, even if they don't back at a German or a Spanish tier, and they do just get the English. It was still an option. They were still thought of, and I think that matters a lot to people when it comes to, I'm giving someone that I don't know, who this is his first campaign, and I'm giving you money in hopes that you're going to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. And then you turn around and go, oh, I'm offering it in 2 other languages. It's like, well, I mean, at least I feel like you give a shit, No,
of course. Yeah. I mean, I have the same, growing up in Mexico, like the translations were so bad.
Oh, yeah.
And you would always have like this weird thing where the sound was cut off when they were talking, and then where the action came back, the sound went back up, and that was such a distraction in movies and series. So like, Yeah, I understand that. If sometimes you do want to have something in your mother tongue.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
And
that is.
someone asked, sorry, someone asked that how many pages are already completed.
Oh, I totally missed your question, Lola. I'm so sorry.
So the art of issue 1 is complete. The colors and the lettering are coming in right now.
Yeah, so you actually have, which is awesome. You've got your little update thing at the bottom of the campaign here that shows what you have done. So all the artwork is done. The colors, there's 40 pages left. The letters, a little bit more than that. It's already done into Spanish, so good
Of
on
course.
you. And now you're sitting here crying because you realize that you said you were going to do it in German, and now you're going to have to do it in
Oh my
German.
goodness. Well, the thing is that I mean, my mother, she's a how do you call that? A translator by profession.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a simultaneous translator.
Oh,
She
cannot do
does
that.
Spanish, German, English, and French, and another language. So she's gonna help me out with the German because otherwise it would be, very
Left.
bad German. So I was like, nope, I want to do this professionally.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I know that I get that. I know that Steve gets that. We both speak other languages, and it is a bitch and a half to try, and I can't even switch between the two very well. If I'm speaking like my other language, that's where I stay, and then I start jacking up my English when people start talking to me in English again. So it's I have so much respect for people who can just flip on a dime. I had an instructor who we went out for a class outing. She spoke German to the waiter, French to a random friend teacher that she was around, Pashto to a different teacher, and then Farsi to us. And I was like, I was just in awe. And then she switched to English when we didn't understand. I was like, I don't know how you do this. And it was within 20 minutes of each other. She went through all of those languages. I was just like, nope, I don't. I'm just going to stay with English. It's easier. I know
Also,
English.
between Spanish and German, it's more or less easy for me because I grew up with those languages. Those are my mother tongues.
Yeah.
But to switch to English, that's like I have to make like a stop, mental switch, and
Yep.
okay, now let's go English. Yes.
Yeah, I'm the same way where you have to like, okay, I'm doing a different language now. This is what I'm going to focus on. I'm not going to speak the language I'm comfortable with. It's like, okay, I'm good now.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I've been speaking English for quite a while now and hearing English almost all the time, but still, it's not my mother tongue, and it is like a change inside your brain. Like, oh, okay, now it's English.
Well, I think that people don't realize that. Like they see a lot of people who are bilingual or trilingual or multilingual, and they're like, oh, it's like a party trick. Like you just, turn it on, turn it off. And you're like,
no.
My whole brain has to shift. And like in certain languages, verbs come at the end. In certain languages, there's gender. There's like,
oh yes, German. Oh my goodness, German is a bitch in that sense. Like everything is. Not only do they have 3 genders for everything, the nouns they seem to be at random what gender they are. They're neutral, female. It doesn't matter if this sounds more like a masculine thing. Like nope, feminine. That's it.
No, that's
everything.
That's a pick one. You're like, I don't understand why.
No, I don't understand either. And then like the declination of the adjectives, they also change depending on. Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, if anyone in here speaks German, they know what I mean. It comes natural if you learn it since a child, but if you're learning the language as a foreign language, it's like, oh my goodness.
No, it's the same way with English. When people try to understand the difference between like read and read, and they're spelled exactly the same, or various other words that are like that, and people are like, I don't understand how and you're like, I don't know how to tell you. I just know because I grew up with it.
Yeah.
It's hard if you're an adult. You actually got an offer from Genuine Comics. He says, let me know if you ever want your comics translated to Dutch. He'd be happy to help, which is a really cool offer.
Awesome. Hell yeah.
Right? Like, let's start getting on rotation people that know various languages, and let's just start translating all these bitches into various ones. That'd be amazing. And Mr. Yanofui, I'm not a Muslim. I'm a ninja. Yeah,
You
it's
said Farsi. Where are you from?
I learned Farsi in college, so I'm born and raised America. I'm from Utah. I have no reason to know Farsi other than it wasn't French or Spanish, and I didn't want to learn either of those, so I learned a different language that they offered, and they just happened to offer that one, so that's the one that I learned.
Okay. Yeah, we have a lot of people from Iran here, and they talk Farsi.
Yep.
As in Switzerland, they have a lot of refugees from Iran. You know, with the whole crisis going on. They moved
sure.
here. Yeah, no, so it's special. All of a sudden, there's Farsi everywhere around us here.
Yeah, I had a whole situation. I went to the store once, and I heard a woman talking to her daughter, and she was like, "Shae bigoted." And the little girl like runs off, and I was like, she just told her to go get milk. And I was like, no, not doing this. Like, I'm not listening in on someone else's conversation just because I know the language. It's like because I unintentionally was staring at her because I was like, I know what you're saying. And then she looked at me and I went, oh my gosh, I'm so creepy right now. I'm so sorry. And like I just get something. And I think that she thought that I was freaked out because she was speaking some other kind of language. And I turned around and I was like, "Bebekshi Khanum, kheli mutasafam." And she was like, "Shit." I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I learned it in college." And she was like, "Oh, okay, that was really cool." I was like, "Yeah, have a good day, bye." I was like, "Oh, I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry."
That's so cool. I know my mom had a special experience where we were in a hotel in Geneva, and they speak French there. And the receptionist was a little bit, not very forthcoming. And so my mother started to, like foul mouth her in Spanish between us, like, oh, just saying, oh my God, this woman, like, why is she so slow, and so forth and so on, with more spicy language, if you like. And then the receptionist turns around and says, you know what? I speak Spanish, also speaking Spanish, And she starts speaking, I speak Spanish too. I understand everything you say. Like, oh,
I
1,000%
have done that. Like when you're around somebody and they start like switching languages just so they can talk shit about you, and you're like, "Hey, what's up?"
I speak that,
It's like, I know I don't look like I know it, but I know it.
Well, the thing that surprised me the most is then my mom just turns around, in Spanish, and says, "You know what? That's good because now you understood what I was really thinking about you." Oh my goodness. Yeah, but by the way, you told me about the Carla and the CG group, and she invited me to the Twitter group. They have a CG Spanish.
Yes.
So I've been prowling around there, if you like.
Which is awesome. I think that that would be something really cool to see, being able to get multiple comics in multiple languages, just because it makes it more accessible. And if we have people that are willing to actually take the time, because it is time consuming. Don't get the wrong idea for people that maybe don't know other languages. Translating something into another language is very time consuming, and it's only going to be as good as the person who is doing the translating is in both languages. So if you're really, really, really good at Spanish and you're really terrible at English, it's going to be as good as your English understanding is. It's not going to be as good as your Spanish is, even if you're translating it into Spanish. Like, your grammar will be fine, but the context is going to be askew because you don't understand the English. So you have to be equally proficient in both languages, and it's so hard.
I've done some translation, but I've had help because you need to have like an inside look at the language you're translating. Like you say, if your Spanish is perfect, but your English is just so. Like, you need to understand these nuances of the language so you can really, choose the right words in Spanish that really convey what the other person is saying in English, if there's like a little joke inside, if there's like sarcasm inside, like if you
Yep.
don't know English perfectly well, you're not gonna catch that.
Well, and just like Gargoyle is saying, so when it comes to slang terms and colloquialisms, that's largely dependent on your culture. And if you don't understand the culture, and like Spanish is a perfect example, Spanish culture is not consistent just because the language is roughly the same. Spain Spanish and Mexico Spanish have different
they're
cultures.
Not the same. No.
There's
and
so
the
much
slang is different. Yeah,
exactly. And so that it's that whole thing, like there's a lot that you have to consider, and things that you've got to try and make sure come across and understand what things are going to get lost in translation, because there's a reason that's an entire phrase is lost in translation. That's what happens.
Yeah, no, there's word the same word is like a normal word in Mexico, and in Spanish is like a how do you say not slang, a curse word.
Yeah. What? Where I was looking for it. I don't know why my dog is crying. I definitely agree with what a lot of the chat is going off on. Like you do definitely have to make sure that you're making the right kind of connections, and making sure that just like El Gargoyle saying way and way, and how they all mean something different.
And no way. Yeah, I know.
And trying to make sure that we get all that across. I think it'd be really cool if we actually started maybe like a smaller group of people who are multilingual, and just hey, if somebody is interested in translating their book into a different language, here are some people that you might be able to go to who can help you with that. I think that would be kind of a cool thing to maybe put together. Maybe that's something that all these people in this chat that have been talking about all these different languages would be a good idea for us to actually expand on. Bring
Los
David in on it.
Mierda todos los días? What?
I know.
Los misma mierda todos los días. Okay.
What does that mean? I don't speak Spanish.
The same shit every day, or something like that, I guess. I don't know if that's what he means. That was a misspelling, maybe. I don't know.
Is it same shit different day?
No, the same shit every day.
The same shit.
Todos los días, every day.
Okay, interesting.
CG Español. Yes, Mr. Mogwai Centurion. I think I've seen him in the Carlos streams.
Yep, he's part of it. Yono's part of it. Like there's actually a lot of you guys that are in it, and it's really cool. But one thing that Yono was saying is it isn't so much to translate things into another language as it is to bring Spanish creators more into CG.
Yeah, some of them we were pestering Mark Waid the other day on his stream with I don't know, some YouTuber. Comics de Dibujantes. Someone put in the CG Spanish chat that Mark Waid was having an interview, and then we all swarmed the interview and started making some silly questions and hailing Richard C. Meyer and hailing Jawbreakers on the chat.
That's what you get when you're a jerk.
Oh my god, that was awesome. And then the poor guy that was making the interview, he's like, okay, let's go to some questions. Never mind. And then he just started making his own question, because everywhere it was just people foul mouthing, no, but making some spicy comments about Mark Waid.
I mean, he kind of brought it on himself by being such a jerk, but
Oh yeah, no, I have no pity for that guy. I mean, he looks like a real jerk. So
he's kind of a creep. So I do not feel bad for the fact that he could not, I guess, keep control of his own interview.
I don't know the guy who was making the interview. It was his channel. Maybe he's like a pretty cool guy.
No.
At the most, I feel a little bit bad for the guy who was interviewing him because all of a sudden, like, oh my god, what the hell is going on?
I do and I don't because unless you're interviewing Mark Wade to point out how corrupt he's been, I don't really know that I feel bad for you. If you're like, yeah, he's a great creator, and you're like, oh.
Okay, right.
Maybe you deserved that. I don't know.
Maybe he deserved that a little bit. Yeah.
We'll see. Well, I am super excited for this. The only thing that concerns me is this says that you have 7 days left. Now, is this your first 30 days or your second?
My first 30 days.
Okay, so are you going to extend?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Oh,
no.
thank goodness. Okay, I was like, I swear, this is a really
I would not be
project.
this chill if I still had the last 7 days. I would be a little bit more nervous.
I mean,
no, we still have 30 days. We still have the 30 days extension. Yes, yes.
Okay, so we have a month and a week to get you. I mean, good hell, you're only trying to get 2060, and this is a flex goal. So you're planning on printing this whether or not you get funded, correct?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, also we made our budget and we said, okay, even if everything goes to shit, we're going to print at least the backers that came in and just also for the experience, for the experience with the languages, for the experience to having it done. And also, like, I have a job, I work, so it's not like I depend on this money for anything. So we're going to do it come hell or high water, as you say in English.
So Genuine Comics came in a bit late and he missed your elevator pitch. So do you want to give him just a real brief rundown again of exactly what Red Eyes is?
All right. So it's like Conan the Barbarian, but with guns. This is a world where fantasy and magic exist, but you also have some early industrial revolution inventions like cannons and, one-shooters. The story, I guess the best way to describe it is like a mix of an old movie called The Dirty Dawson. It's basically a group of 9 heroes on a desperate mission to save their land, and slowly but surely they start to realize that this mission is more than just difficult. It's almost kind of a suicide mission. And the whole point is that the protagonist is he was sentenced to death because of his cowardice and his sins, and he's basically sentenced or drafted into this mission of penance, which is basically a suicide mission. So if he goes on this mission and he succeeds, all the better. And if he dies, he'll die for the honor of the insurrection.
Absolutely.
And as you can see, the people hang there. There's like, even the peasants are not, also the commoners are not very happy with this insurgents.
Yeah. No, they don't seem it. So this is and I agree with CG World Order. Look at that art. It is really a unique looking book, which I think is really, really cool. And I'm glad that we finally got you on, because we've been trying for a while, but our schedules just did not sync. But it definitely has that really good nostalgia feel, and I think that a lot of people are really going to enjoy the hell out of it. Yono said the same thing that I said earlier. If he dies, then he dies. At least then he's not a problem for his dad.
Yeah, so I think if anyone has seen there's a Tales from the Crypt episode that I absolutely love. It's called Yellow, and if anyone's seen that episode, you're also gonna get like a pretty good idea of where or how the story is going to be. So it's a lot of action, blood, gore, and some nudity, and it's not going to be a happy-go-lucky story. It's rather going to be very tense.
Which is, I mean, it feels exciting though. CG World Order wants to know, is that cover going to be offered as a poster?
Yes, definitely. I am working to see how the add-on perks work and put it in a stretch goal. But I think right now in the campaign it is posted as a stretch goal. That cover and the cover for issue number 2, they're going to be posters at some point. Yes.
Of the heroes and villains covers. So we need to get them to 7,000.
That's
And
a little
then,
bit of a wishful, how do you say, wishful thinking? But
yeah.
why not?
But I mean, honestly, I don't think that it's outside of the realm of possibility. This is a really cool looking and unique looking book. I just think that maybe there's not enough eyes on it because outside of what Tompa's put out, I haven't seen a whole lot of this. And I think it's one of those ones that kind of came out at a time where a lot of other books were coming out and it just kind of fell into the backdrop, which is an absolute crime. And we are going to help fix that. That is why we've got you on now.
Oh,
And
thank you, thank you.
we
Yes,
are
yes, I appreciate it a lot that you gave me this opportunity. Thank you.
happy to. We are
And that you're doing the
definitely
cosplay. That's also awesome.
that's that is what we aim for. And I really think that this is a very um it's a very interesting project that I think definitely deserves to have a hell of a lot more funding than $1,200. Um,
Oh my God, I just got 30 backers now.
did you?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Happy day. Thank you, backers. You guys are
Thank
awesome.
you very much.
You guys are super great.
Backer number 30. Thank you very much.
I love the fact that we'll sit here and we'll talk about this stuff and people kind of get to hear a little bit more about you as a creator and what kind of things that you're wanting to bring and more about your project. And then while we're here, people will start backing that. Just that always makes me so happy because it means that this matters. It means that we're doing something that is at least somewhat beneficial. And I'm very, very happy that you're getting more backers. I'm going to be pushing this out a hell of a
That's
lot
awesome.
more.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. The other day I was I was in a stream with Ethan. He was having this call-in stream,
Mhm.
and I got in, and then
Nice.
he was like, "Okay, so what do you want? Like tell your story or say something." And I was so nervous that first of all I start talking about other CG projects like Colton Crocs and the
Yeah.
Lucent, and then I was like, "Yeah, do you know the Lucent? Like you got a back? That's awesome." And then he said, "Okay, do you have something else to say?" And I was like, "No, it's okay. Bye." I was
Oh
so nervous I
no.
forgot. So I didn't forget, but I was just so freaked out.
You're just like, I don't feel like I could keep saying it. So I'm just gonna take my leave. Every time I get on with Ethan, for any of those open call streams, I'm always like, hey, yeah, just like small talk or whatever. And he's like, okay, well, thanks for stopping by. And I'm like, go send to Red Valkyrie. Bye. That was a terrible
Yes.
pitch. Nobody knows what the hell I'm doing.
Well, I
Well,
think you're doing something very unique with your cosplay. That is something that stands out from all the streams I've been and seen. This really stands out, and it's awesome. Yeah.
well, that is what we try to do. We try to do stuff that is a different take on a lot of people's characters and gets people a lot of um at least it gives you something interesting to come for, but then you get to stay for the books and for the stories and the things that make people really interested. I think half the time people show up to see if my cosplays fall apart, and I have delivered on that a couple of times, as I've had probably about 3 of them just like crap out on me in the middle of a stream. But we persevere.
That's awesome. Is there a way is there a way to share screen? Like I see here, but I've never done it, so I don't even know how
Yeah,
exactly.
so you in StreamYards, there's a share screen button at the bottom. Um, you can click that, and if you're in Google Chrome, it'll ask you like what you want to share. And so you can go through and pick if you want a tab or if you want like the whole screen, and you can share that, and it'll pop up for me, and then I can bring you up.
Okay, now it asks me to do some stuff here.
Uh-huh. It's asking you to select what you're going to share.
Okay, but it just opened something else. That's Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen? What the hell?
Oh, yeah, if you're not sometimes it's picky.
Oh my goodness.
You have to like right click on it and re-enable permission to share screen and all that.
Wait, this one here. share. Boom. Oh no, it's not working. I wanted to show some of the art or some of the sketches of issue 2, but whatever.
Maybe next time. We will try for next time.
I'll figure that out.
I will definitely say though, I would push some of that out on Twitter to kind of help promote the campaign overall. Just people like to see progress shots. People like to see what's to come. That gives them a good feeling that at least you are thinking about the future and this isn't going to be a one and done. Because there's a couple of things that I backed I was really excited for. And then talking to the creators after, they're like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do another one. And I was like, I just got invested in this. Like, I was so ready. Damn it. So I think
I know what you mean. Yes. Yeah. You see an amazing issue 1. That's like, issue 2. Oh, no, not going to happen. Sorry.
Like, no, I'm never doing
tired. I got bored. I was like, oh, my God.
You're like, well, damn it. I was all in, but now I'm not. So fine.
What to say, Taliban Shae?
I'm getting that a lot today. It happens. Cobra. Another good one. You guys are hilarious.
Oh no.
Well, honestly, I will say, oh, look at it. We got Lothar. Thank you, Backer 33. Wait, what?
My goodness. Thank you very much.
Hold up. I'm refreshing. It's lagging. You guys are amazing. I love all of you in the chat. Thank you so much for coming out and showing your support for Red Eyes. Please help spread the word. He's still got 37 days. So it says 7 days he's going to extend. We've already discussed this. That is happening. So make sure that you push this out, get more eyes on it, because he definitely deserves to be a hell of a lot farther than a little over $1,000 funded. That is just, this is a really good book and it deserves a lot more attention. And as always, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for being here. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to Red Valkyrie. And I want to say a very special thank you to our awesome guest, Davie Feed. Thank you so much, sir, for coming out and showing your amazing project, sharing that with us. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lothar D.
Yes.
Thank you a lot, man.
Yes, you guys are amazing. Everybody have a fantastic Saturday. Don't forget to check out the campaign. The link is in the description. I will post it once again in the chat in case you have missed it. There it is. So there's no excuse for you to not go and check out Red Eyes and give him a back, because he definitely deserves it.
And yes, we will be posting more pictures to Twitter, and we will listen to you. Your idea of, like engaging the Twitter, the chat, sounds awesome, but we're going to do that.
Fantastic. Yes, I love it. And so obviously if you need anything, feel free to hit me up. I'm more than happy to help out. And just thanks everybody for coming out here. We'll catch you guys next time. See you later.
Hail to the chat.